cutting off the cheater's allowance. My scumbag ex-husband begged for mercy, so I sent him to prison right after signing the divorce papers. The very first thing I did was cut off the monthly allowance I had been religiously transferring to my ex-mother-in-law. At the time, Chu Yan was too busy playing the doting father at a luxury postpartum center with his mistress to notice. It wasn't until the money stopped rolling in that he sent me a barrage of furious texts. He demanded to know if I had zero filial piety, accusing me of trying to starve his mother to death. I didn't even bother replying. His mother, Wang Kuihua, took matters into her own hands. She came all the way to my newly rented apartment, throwing herself onto the floor right outside my door, wailing at the top of her lungs. It was a sweltering afternoon. The thick, oppressive air felt glued to the skin. Out in the apartment hallway, a painfully cliché drama was unfolding. The only difference was that, this time, I was no longer the silent, enduring audience. Wang Kuihua was executing her crying routine with practiced precision, slapping her thighs and screaming vicious insults that pierced right through the thin security door and echoed down the entire corridor. Lin Wan, you heartless, God-forsaken wretch! What did our Chu family ever do to you? How could you be so malicious? My son broke his back providing for you for years, and you ruined everything. You absolute jinx. Every word she spat was meant to be a needle, but they didn't prick me. They only punctured whatever dignity she had left. Doors down the hallway began to crack open. While she put on her theatrical performance, I stood leisurely in my kitchen, sipping a cup of coffee. I wasn't angry. I wasn't heartbroken. I didn't even feel pity. Looking through the peephole, I could clearly see her face, twisted with a mix of rage and utter desperation. I took a slow sip of the hot coffee, letting the bitter warmth spread across my tongue. This profound sense of peace was far better than any elaborate revenge I had ever imagined. I had anticipated this exact scenario for a long time, and I had already written the perfect ending for their little play. The phone on my table buzzed relentlessly, the name Chu Yan flashing across the screen. Cheating men always harbor this delusion that they still hold some kind of value. Unfortunately for him, I was the only one who had accurately appraised his worth, and my conclusion was simple: he was cheap. The commotion outside lasted about 10 minutes. Wang Kuihua's voice started to grow hoarse, her breathing ragged and heavy. Knowing the time was right, I set my coffee mug down. I grabbed my car keys from the hook by the door, letting the cool metal press into my palm to clear my mind. As I opened the door, the harsh midday light spilled in, and the curious eyes of all my neighbors instantly locked onto me. I stepped out, dressed in a tailored beige dress that hugged my figure perfectly elegant, sharp, and without a single flaw. The moment Wang Kuihua saw me, her eyes lit up as if she had finally found a target for her explosive rage. She immediately stopped crying, scrambling across the floor toward me, aiming to grab onto my legs. Wan, my good daughter-in-law. I was wrong. Mom knows she was wrong. I calmly stepped to the side. Unable to stop her momentum, she face-planted hard against the tiled floor with a dull thud. She didn't let that deter her, immediately whining, "You can't be this cruel. Yang will kill me. He will really beat me to death." I stood still, looking down at the woman sprawling at my feet. Her face was smeared with tears and snot, her hair a rat's nest. She looked no different from a beggar off the streets. My voice was light, but the enunciation was crystal clear. Is he going to beat you because I cut off your monthly 10,000 allowance? Or is it because I sold the dream house that you two delusionally believed belonged to you? I didn't yell, but in a quiet, echoing hallway, my words reached the ears of every single eavesdropping neighbor. I knew they wouldn't forget this juicy piece of gossip. Wang Kuihua froze. The color drained from her face, shifting from shock to deep embarrassment, and finally settling into a guilty, venomous glare. She never expected me to so ruthlessly air out all their dirty laundry in front of an audience. Inside the apartment, my phone continued to vibrate in short, desperate bursts. Chu Yan was clearly losing his patience. Right in front of her face, I walked back in, picked up the phone, and scrolled to his name. Without a second of hesitation or a single ounce of emotion, I tapped block. That was the first time I ever saw her fall completely silent. Not out of remorse, but because she had run out of lines for her outdated script. Wang Kuihua stared blankly as I finished blocking him, a profound sense of helplessness flashing in her eyes. She quickly realized that playing the remorseful mother was getting her nowhere. In a split second, she sprang up from the floor like a lit firecracker. Pointing a trembling finger right at my face, she shrieked in an ear-piercing tone, "You are nothing but a barren hen. Our Chu family must have suffered 8 lifetimes of bad luck to drag you through our doors. You ate our food, lived in our house, and now that your wings are hard, you think you can kick us to the curb. Keep dreaming, you ungrateful wretch. Just wait for karma to strike you down." I didn't say a word. I just stood there, silently watching her hurl her endless stream of venom. But when those words, a barren hand, spilled from her mouth, they felt like a rusted, dull knife, twisting into a corner of my memory I had buried deep away. A memory I never wanted anyone to touch. The scene I thought time had erased rushed back, as vivid and horrifying as if it were yesterday. I was 2 months pregnant. It was a suffocatingly hot afternoon. She had flown into a hysterical rage simply because I refused to give her money to pay off the massive gambling debts of her younger brother. Standing in the middle of our living room, she screamed like a lunatic, throwing every passive-aggressive insult in the book at me. I had only talked back once, just a single sentence, but to her it was an unforgivable offense. She lunged at me, shoving me backward with brutal force. My body slammed hard against the sharp edge of the coffee table. A warm, terrifying liquid immediately soaked through my clothes and pooled between my legs. I collapsed to the floor, the pain so blinding I couldn't even draw a breath. Curled up on the cold ground, I felt my entire body turn to ice. My vision blurred with tears of agony and pure panic as I looked up at Chu Yan. Save our baby," I begged. But he merely furrowed his brows in annoyance, turned his back on me, and reached out to support his mother, who was pretending to be frightened by the ordeal. Even then, Wang Kuihua hadn't had enough. She glared down at me, her voice dripping with contempt, making such a fuss over a little bump. When I was pregnant, I still worked the fields from dawn till dusk. I've never seen anyone as pathetically weak as you. I lay there in a pool of my own blood, listening to her manic screaming and the sickening silent complicity of the man I called my husband. Now seeing her stand here and scream those exact same words, she probably thought she could break me all over again. But she was wrong. I had already crawled my way out of that hell. And now, I would never let anyone, especially her, hurt me again. You are absolutely right about one thing, Wang Kuihua. The Chu family really is cursed with 8 lifetimes of bad luck, I said, my voice low but sharp enough to slice through the heavy tension. But it wasn't because you brought me into your home. It's because you raised the son who stood by and watched his wife miscarry, who helps his mother leech off his wife's money, yet still acts like a saint while keeping a mistress on the side. The entire hallway went dead silent. Wang Kuihua's face turned ashen, her lips trembling uncontrollably, but she couldn't formulate a single word. The baby I had longed for, the child we had once dreamed of together, had quietly slipped away from this world, all because of her senseless rage and his cruel, indifferent gaze. The day I left the hospital, the sky was a bleak, dismal gray, and my heart had turned to stone. From that day forward, I stripped away the mask of the gentle, accommodating wife. In the shadows, I began paving an airtight escape road for myself, pulling myself back from the bitter memories. The last trace of warmth completely vanished from my eyes. I looked at Wang Kuihua, my voice stripped of all emotion. If you want to throw a tantrum, you've got the wrong place. Take a left at the intersection ahead. The police station is right there. They are much better equipped to handle you. I turned to the neighbors who had gathered to watch the spectacle, offering a polite, apologetic smile. I'm so sorry for the disturbance, everyone. With that, I reached for the door handle, ready to shut her out. Just then, the screech of brakes echoed from the street below, followed by the heavy, frantic pounding of footsteps rushing up the stairs. Chu Yan had arrived. He charged up the stairwell like a rabid bull. The moment his eyes landed on his mother crying on the floor and me standing coldly across from her, sheer fury swallowed whatever logic he had left. Lin Wan, you absolute bitch! He roared, lunging forward with his arm raised high, aiming a brutal slap right at my face. The air whipped around his hand, and terrified gasps erupted from the neighbors. I didn't flinch. Instead, right before his palm could make contact, I took a single, perfectly timed step backward. The force of his swing sliced through empty air, completely missing my nose. The momentum threw Chu Yan entirely off balance. He stumbled forward, barely catching himself before face-planting into the wall. He stood there, stunned by the miss, his eyes blazing with humiliation and rage. But I wasn't about to give him a second chance. Slowly, deliberately, I pulled the small worn red booklet from my bag and flipped it open right in front of his face. The divorce certificate. Inside, a photo of us standing side by side was permanently severed by the cold, deep imprint of the official steel seal. Take a good look, Mr. Chu, I said, my tone carrying an undeniable air of finality. We have absolutely no relationship anymore. If that slap had landed just now, the nature of this situation would have changed entirely. It's called intentional assault. Chu Yan's eyes remained glued to that glaring red booklet, his pupils violently dilated in shock. In just a few seconds, his expression morphed from blind rage to total bewilderment, and finally to a laughably pathetic look of disbelief. The divorce papers. When did you do this? He stammered, looking as though his spine had been ripped out. His raised arm dropped lifelessly to his side. Right around the time you were enjoying the bliss of new fatherhood with your true love at the postpartum center, I replied gently, each word striking like a hammer against his fragile ego. After the initial shock wore off, a hysterical anger erupted from him. He finally realized he had been played, and it hurt. He thought he had the entire situation under his control, completely oblivious to the fact that I had systematically destroyed the very foundation he stood on. That house was our joint marital property. Who gave you the right to sell it? Give me the money back right now. He screamed like a cornered beast, lunging at the folder in my hands that contained all the housing documents. Wang Kuihua snapped out of her daze and eagerly joined the fray, her shrill voice egging him on. Hit her, son. Grab the deeds. The house is ours. Who does this outsider think she is? Trying to steal our family's property? I let out a cold chuckle. Just as his hands were about to grab me, I swiftly pulled out my phone and dialed the police. At the same time, I turned on the video camera, pointing the lens directly at the deranged mother and son duo. Hello, is this the police? I spoke clearly, my voice steady and completely devoid of fear. I am at apartment B, building A in the central complex. There are people trespassing at my private residence, attempting to assault me and steal my property. Chu Yan froze in his tracks. Wang Kuihua's curses died in her throat. Neither of them ever imagined I would actually call the cops. In their minds, I would forever remain the submissive, timid girl who never fought back when hit and never argued when scolded. Lin Wan, have you lost your mind? It's just a family dispute. Why are you calling the police? Chu Yan lowered his voice, but the sheer panic lacing his words was impossible to hide. A family dispute? I raised my phone higher, panning the camera smoothly across their faces. Mr. Chu, we are divorced. You, your mother, and I are no longer family. The authorities arrived swiftly. Two young uniformed officers marched up the stairs, frowning instantly at the tense standoff in the hallway. What's going on here? Before anyone else could speak, Wang Kuihua dropped to the floor and launched into a brand new crying fit. Officers, please, you have to help us. This vicious woman tricked my son into a divorce, secretly sold our house, and is now trying to throw us out on the streets. Chu Yan quickly chimed in. Officers, this is joint marital property. She had absolutely no legal right to sell it behind my back. I didn't bother arguing with them. I simply waited until they finished their little performance. Then I walked up to the officers, opened my folder, and neatly laid out a stack of documents on the hallway ledge. Officers, this is the property deed. It only has one name on it, Lin Wan. I pointed to the stark black print and the bright red seal, which pierced Chu Yan's eyes like daggers. This is the purchasing contract. The sole signatory is me, Lin Wan. And these are my parents' bank statements. They clearly show that before the marriage, they transferred the entire purchase amount of $12 million in a single lump sum directly to the developer. Not a penny short. With every piece of evidence I pulled out, Chu Yan's face grew a shade paler. He had always genuinely believed that my parents, enamored with their outstanding son-in-law, had merely helped with the down payment. He thought the house was the result of our mutual struggle as a married couple. He had spent countless nights bragging at dinner parties about how he managed to secure a multi-million-dollar downtown apartment at such a young age. Now, the very symbol of his pride, the lie that fed his massive ego, was being shredded to pieces by undeniable proof. To make the show truly spectacular, I softly pulled out a printed A4 sheet from my folder. It was a highlighted section of the Civil Code. Premarital property belongs exclusively to one party. Funds gifted by parents to purchase a home before marriage are legally defined as a personal gift to their own child. I shoved the paper right in front of Chu Yan's face. Mr. Chu, as a sales manager, I assume you know how to read. I mocked. This is called exclusive premarital property. As for you and your mother, you lived in my house rent-free for 5 whole years. My tolerance has reached its absolute limit. Rent-free for 5 years. Those words slammed into Chu Yan's head like a sledgehammer. His face shifted from flushed red to a sickly gray, and finally to the pale white of a corpse. The house he had been so arrogantly proud of was nothing more than a free hotel he refused to check out of. His grand delusion of being the master of the house was entirely fabricated. The officers reviewed the documents, glancing at the utterly defeated mother and son, and immediately grasped the situation. Their tone grew stern. The ownership of this property is crystal clear. Your actions constitute harassment. If you persist, we will be forced to take you to the station. Realizing the situation had turned against her and the police weren't taking her side, Wang Kuihua slumped back onto the floor, slapping her thighs to resume her familiar tragic wailing. My life is so bitter. Oh heavens, I raised an unfilial son who brought home a venomous snake for a wife. Why is my fate so miserable? The neighbors' expressions shifted from curious to completely disgusted, sprinkled with mocking laughter as if they were watching a terrible comedy sketch. Chu Yan stood there, entirely hollowed out, muttering under his breath, "Impossible! This can't be happening! You tricked me!" I didn't spare them another glance. Gathering my documents, I thanked the 2 officers. Right before shutting the door, I looked at Chu Yan's bloodless face and softly dropped a ticking time bomb. Chu Yan, don't fall apart just yet. This is only the beginning. You should use whatever free time you have left to figure out exactly how you're going to explain where the money for your true love's Hermes bag came from. The door clicked shut, cutting off the wailing, the cursing, and the suffocating despair from the outside world. Silence finally embraced me. Inside the door was a bright, pristine new apartment. Outside was the pathetic silhouette of Chu Yan and Wang Kuihua, being pointed at and gossiped about by the entire floor. I slipped off my heels and walked barefoot across the cool wooden floor. A wave of profound relief washed over me. as if a 1,000-pound weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Sitting on the living room sofa was a woman in a sharp, tailored suit, her legs crossed elegantly as she gently swirled a glass of red wine. It was my best friend, Lawyer Jiang. "Beautiful execution," she praised, raising her glass to me. The admiration in her eyes was unconcealed. I walked over, poured myself a glass, and gently clinked it against hers. The crisp chime of the crystal was a perfect overture to victory. I heard everything from down here. "Your ex-mother-in-law's voice is definitely soprano material," Jiang joked. I took a sip of the red wine, the rich liquid gliding down my throat, leaving a warm, fiery trail in my chest. "She's only good for throwing tantrums, but the next step is where his company goes up in flames," I said. Jiang dropped a playful demeanor, her expression turning deadly serious. "Are all the evidence and files prepared? We can't afford a single loophole." I nodded. I had been preparing for this exact day for 2 long years. Every single transaction Chu Yan embezzled, every forged contract he signed, I had secretly backed them up, categorized them, and starred them with meticulous detail. He thought he was completely under the radar, totally oblivious that the gentle wife sleeping next to him every night was quietly weaving the net that would slowly choke the life out of him. Just then, my phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. I furrowed my brow, glancing at Lawyer Jiang. She gestured for me to answer it and pointed to the speakerphone icon. I swiped the screen and tapped the speaker. A fragile, sickly sweet female voice, laced with delicate sobs, drifted through the room. It was the mistress, Su Qing. "Hello? Is this Sister Lin Wan?" I remained perfectly quiet, letting her perform. "Sister, I know you and Yan are having a fight. I know you must hate me to death. But Yan truly loves you, and he loves our baby so much. We can survive without him. If the house is gone, we can work hard to buy another one. If the money is gone, we can earn it back. Could you please stop backing him into a corner? He's under so much pressure lately, and my heart just aches for him." Her voice was incredibly weak, dripping with fake benevolence and forgiveness, as if I were the villainous monster tearing apart their epic, true romance. If this were 2 years ago, hearing this drivel might have made me shake with rage. But now, I just found it utterly hilarious. In fact, I laughed out loud. Su Qing froze on the other end, her delicate sobbing screeching to a halt. "Sister, what are you laughing at?" "I'm laughing at how painfully naive you are." I took another sip of wine, my voice dripping with pure sarcasm. "Miss Su, let me ask you a serious question. In what capacity are you speaking to me right now? Are you Mr. Chu's legal wife? Oh, wait, I forgot that position is currently vacant. Though I highly doubt you have what it takes to fill it." My rapid-fire questions choked Su Qing. She didn't know how to respond, clearly not expecting me to be so brutally direct. A few seconds later, she weaponized her tears once again. "Sister, you used to never be like this. You were always so gentle, so kind. Why have you become so vicious?" "Because being gentle and kind isn't enough to feed a pack of ravenous wolves like you people." I didn't want to waste another breath and decisively hung up the phone. I shrugged, looking over at Lawyer Jiang. "See, there are always people who think they are the center of the universe, expecting the whole world to revolve around their sob stories." Jiang laughed and shook her head. Stupid and totally oblivious to it. At that exact moment, in a rundown apartment complex dozens of miles away, Chu Yan, having just been mocked by his entire neighborhood and drained by his mother's relentless crying, was aggressively pulling at his hair in frustration. Suddenly, his phone chimed. It was a direct message from the head of his company's finance department. "Chu Yan, the 200,000 advance payment from the client you handled last month. The client just called to completely deny the transaction. There is a massive discrepancy in the books. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., you are to report to the main conference room to explain this directly to me and the director." The message was incredibly short, no extra words. but every single syllable was a freezing blade plunging straight into Chu Yan's heart. His hands and feet turned to ice. That 200,000. He remembered it perfectly. He had used that exact sum of money to buy Su Qing, the woman who had just birthed his precious heir, the Hermes bag she had been whining about for months. The rest of it went to paying for the most exclusive, high-end postpartum care center in the city. He thought he had covered his tracks perfectly. He believed a forged deposit contract would be more than enough to fool the company's financial system. He had even been smug about his own brilliance. He never imagined retribution would arrive this fast. Complete panic set in. The shock of losing the house and the terrifying exposure of his embezzlement crashed down on him like two massive boulders, suffocating him. Right now, he desperately needed money, a massive sum of money to plug the gaping hole at the company. He barged into the damp, moldy rented room where Wang Kuihua was staying. The place reeked of mildew and despair. "Mom, where is the savings book? Get it out right now. How much money do we have left?" His voice was hoarse and frantic. Wang Kuihua, who was sitting on the edge of the bed, wiping her tears, immediately avoided his gaze. "Money, the money," she stammered, awkwardly reaching under the mattress to pull out a worn-out cloth bag. She opened it to reveal an old bank book. Chu Yan snatched it from her hands and ripped it open. When his eyes landed on the printed balance, his entire body seized up. 3,215. How was this possible? How could there be so little? His eyes turned bloodshot, refusing to believe the numbers on the page. "I gave you 20,000 a month. I only kept a tiny fraction for my own expenses. It's been years. We should have at least 700,000 or 800,000 saved up. Where the hell is the money?" Like a feral beast, he grabbed his mother by the shoulders and shook her violently. Dizzy and unable to bear it, Wang Kuihua finally broke down and confessed. I gave it all to your uncle." "What? Your brother? He got conned into high-stakes gambling. He was drowning in debt, and the loan sharks threatened to chop off his hands. He's my only little brother. How could I not help him? How could I just sit back and watch him die?" Wang Kuihua wailed pathetically. Her only little brother. That tired excuse. If I were there, those words would have immediately triggered the memory from my 3rd year of marriage. I had accidentally discovered that Wang Kuihua was secretly funneling tens of thousands to her gambling-addicted brother every single month, draining the household finances and leaving our savings completely empty. I had kindly suggested to Chu Yan that he should talk to his mother about enabling her brother. His response? He flew into a blinding rage, pointing right in my face, calling me a petty, venomous woman who couldn't accept his family. He had screamed, "My mother suffered her whole life. How she spends her money is her business. It's not your place to dictate. Let me warn you, Lin Wan. Don't you ever bring up my uncle again. He's my mother's only blood relative." And now, every single word he had used to fiercely defend his mother and his uncle was snapping back to violently slap him in the face. That was my blood, sweat, and tears. I broke my back, earning every single cent of that money so you could have a comfortable retirement. Not so you could throw it away on a gambling degenerate. For the first time in his life, Chu Yan screamed furiously at the mother he had always worshipped like a deity. "You are completely delusional. You've completely destroyed my only way out." Wang Kuihua was stunned. She never expected her fiercely loyal, obedient son to completely lose his mind and roar at her like this. She immediately started screaming back, "You heartless, ungrateful brat! You get a wife and suddenly forget your own mother. If it weren't for you, would I have to degrade myself like this? And now you're blaming me." In that cramped, suffocating room, mother and son erupted into the most vicious, explosive argument of their lives. One hated the other for secretly draining their life savings. The other blamed the son for making her lose face. Their seemingly unbreakable alliance of mutual self-interest instantly shattered the moment they faced a genuine crisis. After the screaming died down, a deathly silence filled the room. Chu Yan slumped against the wall, sliding down to the floor, his eyes completely hollow. He had no way out. Amidst the terrifying ruins of his life, a sudden thought struck him. Me. He thought of the woman who used to obey his every command, who treated his words like gospel. He convinced himself that if I could just forgive him, if I would just take him back, everything could be fixed. After all, my parents were wealthy, and they loved me unconditionally. As long as I asked, let alone 200,000, they will easily hand over 2 million to plug his financial black hole. Desperate, he started bombarding me with text messages. My phone screen lit up relentlessly. 11. I know I was wrong. Can you please give me one more chance? 11. Do you remember where we first met? Under that old banyan tree. You were wearing a white dress. I told myself then that I absolutely had to marry you. Did I really treat you that terribly these past 5 years? I gave you all my salary. I listened to whatever you said. How can you be so cruel? 11, if you just come back, I'll cut off Su Qing immediately. I swear, from now on, I will only treat you well. I stared at the pathetic, groveling messages with zero expression. I just felt nauseous. If he had fed me these cheap, sugary lines in the past, I might have been moved to tears. But now, to me, they were worse than trash. I didn't reply. I just quietly took screenshots of every single message, organized them neatly, and opened my chat with Su Qing. Her profile picture was still her beaming radiantly while holding her baby, playing the part of a woman living the ultimate happily ever after. I forwarded every single screenshot to her, one by one. Being the thoughtful person I am, I even attached a little note at the end. Take a good look. This is the man you are so desperately in love with. The second his life catches fire, he comes crawling right back to his ex-wife, begging and groveling. By the way, Miss Su, I hope that her mess bag is comfortable to carry. Once the deed was done, I tossed my phone aside, picked up my glass, and drank the rest of the wine. The real show was about to begin. The next morning, Chu Yan dragged his hollow shell of a body into the office. He hadn't slept a wink. His eyes were bloodshot, his entire demeanor completely withered, like a frostbitten tomato. He still clung to a microscopic sliver of hope that the finance manager had simply made a bookkeeping error, that somehow he could still be saved. But the moment he pushed open the heavy doors to the grand conference room, his delusions shattered into dust. 3 people sat waiting for him. The company director, a formidable man in his 50s radiating strict authority. The head of finance, a stern-looking woman in gold-rimmed glasses. And finally, the head of the legal department. It looked like a tribunal execution. On the massive conference table, there was no tea or water, only a terrifyingly thick stack of documents. Chu Yan's legs turned to jelly. He could barely stand. Take a seat, Chu Yan, the director said, his tone dangerously unreadable. Chu Yan stiffly pulled out a chair, feeling exactly like a death row inmate waiting for the guillotine to drop. The finance manager slid a heavy stack of papers right in front of him. This is the forged deposit contract you fabricated for the client account, along with all the associated transfer records. We contacted the executives at that company. They categorically denied ever authorizing this deposit. The 200,000 was approved by you and subsequently transferred in 3 separate installments to a personal bank account belonging to someone named Su Qing. Chu Yan, do you have any explanation for this? Every word from the finance manager felt like a sledgehammer crushing his ribs. He stared at the evidence laid out before him. It was even more detailed and meticulous than his own memory of the crime. Forged signatures, fabricated receipts, manipulated ledgers. It was all there, glaringly undeniable. His blood ran cold. He knew he was utterly doomed. The director looked at Chu Yan's ghostly white face and spoke with icy precision. The company received an anonymous whistleblower email, which prompted this audit. The email contained every single piece of evidence. An anonymous email. A deafening ringing exploded in Chu Yan's ears. It was her. It had to be. Lin Wan. No one else could have pulled this off. The woman he had always dismissed as weak, pliant, and easily manipulated had just driven a lethal knife straight into his back. I will give you two choices, the director said, raising two fingers. First, you return the embezzled 200,000 immediately, every single cent. Then you submit your resignation. Out of respect for your past contributions, the company will not pursue legal action. Second, we call the police right now. Embezzling 200,000 is a massive criminal offense. You will spend several years behind bars. 200,000. Call the police. Prison. The words swirled violently in Chu Yan's mind, like a curse. Where the hell was he supposed to get 200,000? He didn't even have 2,000 to his name. Absolute panic consumed him, shattering his sanity. Right there in the boardroom, his trembling hands pulled out his phone and he frantically dialed Su Qing. Su Qing, sell the bag. Sell it right now and give me the money. He practically screamed into the receiver. On the other end, Su Qing's voice was venomous and filled with absolute revulsion. She clearly hadn't recovered from the barrage of screenshots I sent her last night. Are you insane? That was a gift. Why should I sell my things to pay your debts? That belongs to me. What do you mean yours? That is company money. I'm going to prison. Do you not understand? You going to prison has absolutely nothing to do with me. You did this to yourself. Let me make this clear. Don't you dare touch that bag. And we are completely done. You pathetic con artist. The Lang went dead. Chu Yan held the phone to his ear, listening to the dial tone echo coldly in the silent room. His final thread of hope snapped. Despair rushed in like floodwaters, drowning him alive. He shot up from his chair, bolted out of the conference room, and fled the building like a headless fly. He jumped into his heavily financed, beat-up car and drove erratically through the city. He had no idea where he was going. His only thought was that he could not go to prison. Eventually, the car screeched to a halt in front of a sleek, towering luxury high-rise. He looked up, his eyes locking onto the gleaming gold letters of Zhongcheng Law Firm. My new workplace. Like a drowning man spotting a lifeline, Chu Yan violently stumbled into the grand lobby. Just as he entered, he witnessed a scene that would be burned into his retinas for the rest of his life. I was walking out of the elevators, side by side with a tall, incredibly handsome man in a flawlessly tailored suit. I had tossed out the hideous, outdated, stick-framed glasses, revealing sharp, bright eyes. With light, elegant makeup, my face radiated an unprecedented, calm confidence. My tailored blazer perfectly accentuated my figure, making me look as though I was glowing. I tilted my head, chatting easily with the man beside me, a relaxed, brilliant smile on my face, a smile Chu Yan had never ever seen. The man was actually just Lawyer Jiang's younger brother, who had dropped by to deliver some files. But in Chu Yan's deranged, paranoid mind, the sheer intimacy of that smile felt like a serrated blade twisting deep into his chest. Unfathomable jealousy, bitter regret, and absolute despair overwhelmed him. He no longer cared about his pride or public humiliation. He charged directly at me, completely ignoring the stunned gasps of onlookers. Chu Yan dropped to his knees right in front of me, hitting the marble floor heavily. He threw his arms around my legs, sobbing uncontrollably, his face a messy ruin of tears and snot. Wife, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please save me. I'm begging you, save me. I don't want to go to prison. I really don't want to go to prison. Please just ask your parents to help me this one last time. Please, wife. I looked down at the grown man groveling at my feet, howling like a massive toddler, and felt absolutely nothing. The lobby seemed to freeze. Corporate professionals walking by stopped in their tracks, staring at the chaotic spectacle as if watching a circus act. Jiang's brother, inadvertently dragged into this madness, looked visibly incredibly awkward. I smiled at him apologetically, my voice as casual as if discussing the weather. I'm so sorry. Ran into a lunatic. You can go ahead. I'll hold on to the documents. He looked at me as if I had just granted him a royal pardon, quickly handed over the files, and practically sprinted out of the lobby. I lowered my gaze to the pathetic creature sobbing on my shoes. In the past, this same man used to stand before me dripping with arrogance, barking orders about how I should think, act, and live. And now he was nothing more than a stray dog kicked out into the rain, groveling for mercy. It was deeply pathetic. Chu Yan, have you forgotten? We are divorced. I tried to step back, but he clung to my legs with a death grip. Wife, Lin Wan, I was wrong. I know I was completely wrong. He lifted his tear-streaked face, his eyes overflowing with desperate pleading. You can't be this heartless. After all, we were married for 5 years. Married for 5 years. That sounded like the punchline to the sickest joke of the century. I couldn't hold back a laugh. You mean the 5 years where I was 2 months pregnant? Your mother shoved me and killed our baby, and you just stood there screaming at me for being unreasonable? Or do you mean the 5 years you took my parents' money, lived like a king in my house, and bragged to the world that it was all your own hard work? Or perhaps you mean when you embezzled company funds to buy luxury goods for your mistress, putting her up in a VIP postpartum center, while I didn't even dare to buy myself a new dress. With every word I spoke, the last bit of color drained from his face. I leaned down, staring directly into his terrified eyes, my voice dropping to a freezing whisper. Chu Yan, your so-called loyalty and affection are so cheap, they make me want to vomit. My words were like poison-laced daggers, systematically slicing away the last shreds of his fragile ego, leaving absolutely nothing intact. Choked by my ruthless truth, the desperate pleading in his eyes rapidly warped into humiliation, and then into a rabid, cornered rage. Realizing begging wouldn't work, he instantly resorted to threats. Lin Wan, don't you dare push me. He lowered his voice, his face contorting into an ugly snarl. If you don't save me today, I will tell this entire building every single dirty detail about our marriage. I'll make sure they all know what a slutty, ruthless bitch you really are. I will make sure you have no place left in this industry. He still thought I was the old Lin Wan, the woman who would swallow any abuse to protect her reputation. He was dead wrong. I laughed, a very light, incredibly serene laugh. I calmly reached into my bag and pulled out another folder. An old, worn brown envelope that looked like it had been sealed for years. I didn't open it. I just held it, lightly tapping it against my palm. Chu Yan, do you really think that's the only trump card you have to worry about? I stood up straight, effortlessly reclaiming total control of the room. The evidence of your infidelity during our marriage, your illegal cohabitation with Su Qing, the hotel records, the luxury receipts from the postpartum center. I have everything. I've already authorized my lawyer to file a lawsuit demanding compensation for extreme emotional distress. Not a lot, just about 500,000. Chu Yan's eyes widened in sheer horror, but I wasn't finished. I watched his face twist in terror, then slowly, deliberately played my final, most lethal card. Also, I paused, savoring the escalating panic in his eyes. Did you forget? 3 years ago, on that highway outside the city, you were driving drunk. You hit an old man on an electric scooter, panicked, and fled the scene. Then you found your good buddy. What was his name again? Ah, right, Li Qiang. You begged him to take the fall and shoved 10,000 in his face to keep his mouth shut. Chu Yan's entire body began to convulse violently. His lips moved, but his vocal cords had completely paralyzed. He couldn't force out a single sound. Unfortunately for you, I smiled. A smile that to him must have looked worse than the devil's. I tracked down Li Qiang last week. He recorded a full confession, signed it, and put his thumbprint on it. The originals are all right inside this envelope. I gave the brown folder a gentle shake. So tell me, Chu Yan, between embezzling 200,000 and hit and run, and bribing someone to commit perjury. Which charge do you think carries the heaviest sentence? This was the ultimate card I had kept hidden, the final devastating weight that crushed the camel's back. The horror in his eyes reached its absolute peak before fading into a dead, hollow gray. It was as if his spine had simply dissolved. He collapsed flat onto the marble floor, completely drained of even the strength to kneel. He finally understood. From the very second I discovered his betrayal, from the moment my unborn child was stolen from me, the clock had started ticking on my revenge. For 2 whole years, every time I endured his insults, every time I played the obedient wife, every time I stayed silent, it was all for this exact moment, to completely and permanently annihilate him. I didn't spare him a second glance. I turned my back, the sharp clack of my heels echoing firmly against the marble as I walked proudly toward the elevators. Behind me, an agonizing, unearthly howl of absolute, broken despair tore from Chu Yan's throat. To my ears, it was the most beautiful symphony in the world. Chu Yan's life went completely up in flames. His company officially filed charges for massive embezzlement. Add to that the hit and run and witness tampering, and he was hit with compounded criminal charges. What awaited him was a very long, very bleak stretch in a concrete cell. His car, which he still owed money on, was seized by the bank. On top of that, he was drowning in dual debts to both his former company and to me. From the illusory peak he had built for himself, Chu Yan plummeted straight into a bottomless abyss. When Su Qing realized Chu Yan had absolutely zero chance of a comeback, her ruthlessness was almost impressive. She immediately swept the apartment clean of all cash and jewelry they had shared in their little love nest. She picked up her 3-month-old baby and evaporated into thin air. She genuinely believed she had orchestrated a flawless escape. But she forgot one crucial detail. The exorbitant bills she racked up at VIP postpartum center. Every card swipe, every luxury service left a glaring paper trail. A court summons quickly found its way to the address she had rented, legally compelling her to return every single cent of the illicit funds Chu Yan had spent on her. A few days later, a painfully thin, haggard woman dragged herself into my law firm. It was Su Qing. The arrogant, coquettish mistress was completely gone. Her face was an ashen gray, her eyes deeply sunken, and she was clutching a wailing baby in her arms. She looked like she had aged 10 years. She tried to play the sympathy card, hoping to exploit some kind of sisterhood among women. Sister Lin Wan. I know I was wrong. I was blinded. I was tricked by that absolute scum, Chu Yan. She cried, squeezing out a few pathetic tears. I have nothing left now. I'm a single mother. I really don't know what to do. Please, for the sake of an innocent child, let me go. Just withdraw the lawsuit. I'll do anything. A vile, suggestive glint flashed in her eyes, hinting that if I wanted, the child could be mine. I looked at the baby, its face red and wrinkled from crying out of hunger, looking infuriatingly like Chu Yan. A sharp ache pierced my chest. I thought of my own child, the one I never got to meet, but I crushed that emotion instantly. I looked Su Qing dead in the eye, my gaze absolute ice. You came to the wrong place. You chose this path, and you will swallow the consequences. I don't run a charity. Seeing that her act was utterly useless, Su Qing's final mask slipped. She shrieked like a banshee. Lin Wan, you venomous bitch! You ruined the Chu Yan and now you want to ruin me. You will burn in hell for this. I didn't even bother arguing. I coolly pressed the intercom button. Security. There's a disturbance in the lobby. Please come handle it. Within seconds, 2 burly security guards forcibly escorted Miss Su off the premises. But the circus was far from over. With nowhere left to turn, Su Qing tracked down Wang Kuihua. One desperately wanted to claw back whatever assets were left before they were seized by the courts. The other blamed all of her precious son's crimes squarely on the seductive fox spirit, Su Qing. The two former allies instantly turned on each other, tearing into one another over a few cheap pieces of jewelry and a couple thousand in cash. Word on the street was they brawled all the way from the apartment into the hallway, pulling hair, ripping clothes, until the neighbors eventually called the cops. Both were dragged down to the police station. At the station, Wang Kuihua pointed a bruised finger at Su Qing, screaming, "You demonic fox! You seduced my son! You destroyed my entire family!" Su Qing, hands on her hips, fired right back. "You blood-sucking hag! You're the one who drained Chu Yan dry and forced him into a life of crime." Their rabid dogfight quickly became the hottest gossip in the neighborhood. When lawyer Jiang recounted the ridiculous saga to me like a stand-up routine, I was busy reviewing a pro bono legal file. I only offered a faint dismissive smile. Watching them rip each other to shreds was infinitely more satisfying than dirtying my own hands. Destroying your enemies without ever shedding a drop of blood, that is the ultimate execution. Chu Yan's trial concluded swiftly. With multiple severe charges stacked against him, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison. A day before his transfer to the penitentiary, he requested a final visitation with me through his lawyer. I hesitated briefly, but ultimately decided to go. Not for him, but for myself. I needed to cleanly, permanently close this agonizing chapter of my life. The visitation room was cold and suffocating. We sat across from each other, separated by a thick pane of bulletproof glass, speaking through the wall-mounted phones. He was dressed in a dull gray prison uniform, his hair shaved close to his scalp. He looked at least a decade older. The smug arrogance, the manipulative charm, the constant calculation in his eyes, all of it was completely gone, replaced only by the dead ashen gray of total ruin. He saw me, he picked up the phone. His lips trembled for a long time before he finally forced out a raspy whisper. "You came?" "Yes," I replied calmly. He seemed shocked by my absolute composure. He froze for a second before offering a bitter, broken smile. "Wan, I'm sorry." Tears streamed down his face. They were rare, painfully late tears, carrying genuine remorse. If I could do it all over again, I absolutely wouldn't. He started rambling uncontrollably. He talked about the day we met, about our wedding vows, about how his vanity and greed had slowly swallowed him alive, leading him step by step into the abyss. It was the most honest he had ever been in his entire life. I listened in silence, not interrupting him once. But to me, his apologies and regrets meant absolutely nothing. Scars don't vanish just because someone says sorry. Apologies that arrive after the destruction is complete are cheaper than weeds. When he finally stopped talking, a heavy, agonizing silence stretched between us. He looked at me with desperate, begging eyes, praying for a single word of forgiveness. I held the receiver, looking right back at him. My heart was completely still. I only had one thing to say. Chu Yan. The day I lost our baby, it hurt me too. Without waiting for his reaction, I hung up the phone, stood up, and walked away. Through the cold glass, I saw his body instantly seize up, his face draining of all blood as pure agony froze onto his features. I didn't look back. Step by step, I walked out of that suffocating room, leaving every ounce of the past behind. When I stepped outside, the bright sunlight hit my face. I took a deep breath. The air smelled of fresh grass and damp earth. The crushing weight that had suffocated my heart for years finally evaporated, replaced by an unprecedented sense of absolute freedom. It was over. Wang Kuihua, having lost her only son to prison, had no financial or emotional support left. Completely broken, she was evicted by her landlord and forced to skulk back to her rural village. Rumor had it, she stood at the village entrance every single day, cursing me and Su Qing, endlessly crying about her poverty. But everyone already knew the truth, and no one offered her an ounce of sympathy. The court mandated Chu Yan to pay me 500,000 in emotional damages. Even though he was completely penniless, that judgment would act as a permanent, crippling legal scar that would follow him to his grave. I took the money from selling the house, combined it with my savings, and officially bought into lawyer Jiang's firm, becoming a full partner. Together, we established a brand new division entirely dedicated to providing pro bono legal assistance to women suffering from marital abuse. Women who desperately needed legal protection but couldn't afford it. I threw away the heavy black glasses I had hidden behind for years, upgraded my wardrobe to sharp professional suits, and poured every drop of my energy into my new career. The first pro bono case I took on involved a young woman who had endured severe domestic violence, whose husband was actively hiding assets to leave her with nothing during their divorce. The first time we met, she sat huddled in a corner, her eyes darting in terror, trembling like a cornered fawn. Looking at her was like looking in a mirror from 2 years ago. I used my legal expertise to help her gather ironclad evidence and draft her lawsuit. I used my own scars to give her strength, telling her, "You are not wrong. The monster who hurt you is wrong." I told her, "The law is your most powerful weapon. You must learn how to wield it to protect yourself and take back everything that belongs to you." The case went flawlessly. The court granted the divorce, awarded her a completely fair share of the assets, and issued a strict restraining order to guarantee her future safety. On the day of the verdict, the young woman hugged me tightly outside the courthouse, crying tears of joy. "Sister Lin, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You gave me the courage to live my life again." In that moment, I felt a wave of profound fulfillment. It was a satisfaction infinitely deeper and more meaningful than seeing Chu Yan grovel at my feet. I stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office, gazing down at the bustling traffic of the city below. My phone chimed with a crisp notification. It was a picture message from my parents, vacationing in Switzerland. In the photo, they were standing at the foot of a snowy mountain, smiling as brilliantly and happily as children. My new life wasn't just about living for myself anymore. It was about living for the people who truly loved me and fighting for the people who desperately needed me. That suffocating dark past failed to drown me. Instead, it became the unbreakable foundation beneath my feet, allowing me to stand taller, see further, and live a life far more worthy.
If you're liking the story so far, a quick like, share, and subscribe would mean a lot and keep me going.